Admiral Lisa Ward stood frozen on the bridge of the Earth Alliance flagship Defender. Her eyes were fixed on the main view screen where, just moments ago, the diplomatic vessel Olive Branch had been traveling toward the Galactic Council station. Now, only debris and a fading explosion remained. "Replay the last 30 seconds, she ordered, her voice steady despite the horror gripping her chest. Her brother Sam had been aboard that ship, along with Earth's finest diplomats. The footage showed the Olive Branch approaching the Council station when a flash of light appeared from a nearby vessel. Then came the explosion. No warning, no distress call. "Get me Council Representative Skitera now," Lisa demanded. The insectoid face of the Vrax diplomat appeared on screen. His mandibles clicked in what humans had learned was a gesture of regret. "A most unfortunate terrorist attack," Skitera said. "The Meridian Collective has claimed responsibility. We share your grief, Admiral." Lisa's eyes narrowed. "Odd. Our sensors detected the energy signature came from a Vrax military vessel." "Your primitive sensors are mistaken," Skitera replied. "The Council has already begun its investigation. We expect Earth to pay reparations for the increased security measures your presence now requires." The communication ended abruptly. Commander Paul Rogers approached Lisa's chair. "Admiral, Earth Intelligence just sent this." He handed her a data pad showing intercepted Vrax communications. "They planned this. They never intended to let us join the Council." Lisa looked around the bridge at the stunned faces of her crew. Humanity had spent 10 years following every Council regulation, jumping through diplomatic hoops, proving they were civilized enough to join the galactic community. "Send a message to Earth Command," Lisa said. "The diplomatic mission has failed. The Olive Branch has been destroyed with all hands. Evidence suggests Council involvement." She stood and straightened her uniform. "And prepare a direct channel to the Council chambers." Minutes later, Lisa faced the assembled representatives of 50 alien species that controlled access to most of the galaxy. "The people of Earth came to you in peace," she began. "We followed your rules. We shared our knowledge. We extended our hand in friendship. Today, you answered with violence and deception." Lisa paused, making eye contact with each Council member. "If this is how diplomacy works among the stars, then perhaps humanity should try a different approach. As of this moment, Earth withdraws all diplomatic overtures and will pursue its own path among the stars." The Council erupted in shouts and threats. Lisa smiled coldly. "You should have killed us all when you had the chance." The transmission ended, leaving the Council in stunned silence. None of them realized they had just witnessed the beginning of their own downfall. The emergency meeting room deep under the Rocky Mountains buzzed with tension. Defense Director Frank Collins slammed his fist on the table. "We have confirmed it. The Galactic Council not only knew about the attack on the Olive Branch, they ordered it," he said to the gathered leaders of Earth's government. President Maria Lawson closed her eyes briefly. "Then we have no choice. Activate the Phoenix Protocol." The room went silent. The Phoenix Protocol had been created 50 years ago after aliens attacked the first human colony on Mars. It had never been used, only updated in secret over the decades. "Are we sure?" asked General Alan Jones. "This means war with the entire Council." "Not war," Maria corrected. "Independence. They expect us to beg for mercy. Instead, we will show them humanity cannot be controlled through fear." The vote was unanimous. 3 days later, Frank stood in the massive underground hangar watching as workers removed the fake hull plates from Earth's science vessels. Hidden weapon systems emerged from their concealment. Experimental shield generators were installed in plain view. "How long until the fleet is ready?" Frank asked Chief Engineer Diane Murphy. 72 hours for the first wave," Diane replied. The Phoenix Protocol kept these ships battle-ready beneath their peaceful exteriors. Smart planning. Frank nodded. Humanity learned from the Mars massacre. We smile, we trade, we explore, but we prepare. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Kate Harmon led her small stealth ship toward the debris field where the olive branch had been destroyed. Her team worked in silence, collecting fragments and scanning for data. "Got something," said tech specialist Jack Wilson. "A piece of the black box. It's damaged, but..." "But what?" Kate asked. "The final sensor log. It shows the weapon signature came from Council Representative Zixolin's personal vessel, not from any terrorist group." Kate's face hardened. "Download everything. We need proof for what comes next." Back on Earth, military bases around the planet hummed with activity. Hidden weapon caches were opened. Soldiers who had trained as peacekeepers now prepared for their real mission. In orbit, the Earth Defense Fleet assembled. Ships that other species had dismissed as primitive now revealed their true capabilities as armor plates shifted and weapon ports opened. Admiral Lisa Ward stood on the bridge of the newly renamed flagship Defiance. The ship had been redesigned overnight, its systems now operating at full capacity rather than the reduced power they had shown to Council observers. "Status report," Lisa ordered. "All ships ready, Admiral. The Council fleet has entered the solar system. They're demanding our immediate surrender." Lisa smiled. "Let's show them what happens when humanity stops playing nice." Commander Eric Powell watched as the Council fleet approached Earth, 30 warships against Earth's 20. The Council forces moved in a standard attack pattern, clearly expecting an easy victory. "All ships, execute sunburst maneuver," Eric ordered. The Earth fleet suddenly split into 5 groups, moving in ways the Council tactical computers could not predict. Council ships fired and missed as Earth vessels seemed to know where shots would land before they were fired. "How are they doing this?" demanded Council Admiral Zelkor. "Humans do not have quantum neural networks." Eric smiled as his ship, the Swift Justice, slid between 2 Council destroyers. His weapons officer, Susan Kelly, targeted their engines with precision. "Fire," Eric said calmly. The Council ships went dark, their engines disabled. No explosions, no deaths, just disabled vessels drifting in space. This scene repeated across the battlefield. Within 30 minutes, 25 of the 30 Council ships floated powerless. "Open channel to the Council flagship," Eric ordered. The angry face of Admiral Zelkor appeared on screen. "This trickery will not save you, humans. The full might of the Council will crush your primitive world." "Look around you, Admiral," Eric replied. "We could have destroyed your ships. We chose not to. Your crews are alive, because we value life, even yours." Eric pressed a button, showing Zelkor the data Lieutenant Harmon had recovered. "We know you destroyed our diplomatic vessel. We know the Council approved it." Zelkor's 4 eyes blinked in surprise. "Return to Council space," Eric continued. "Tell them what happened here, and deliver this message." Eric stood tall. "We came to you as friends. You responded with treachery. We will not make that mistake again. The stars are now open to us, with or without your permission." The remaining Council ships retreated, leaving their disabled comrades to be towed by human vessels to the edge of the solar system. On the Galactic Council station, panic spread as news of the defeat reached them. Species that had dismissed humans as barely spaceworthy now watched footage of Earth ships moving in formations thought impossible without advanced technology. "How did they hide their true capabilities?" asked Councillor Dren. "Our observers reported they had only basic shield technology and chemical weapons." High Councillor Vex stared at the reports in disbelief. "They showed us what they wanted us to see. What do we do now?" Dren asked. Vex had no answer. For the first time in 12,000 years, the Council faced a species that did not fear them. A species that had held back, watched, learned, and now revealed they had teeth. Across Council space, the message from Commander Powell played on every communication channel. "The stars are now open to us, with or without your permission." The Galactic Council chamber was in chaos. Representatives from 50 species shouted over each other. Some demanded immediate military action against Earth. Others called for trade sanctions. A few suggested peace talks. High Counselor Vex pounded his gavel. Order. We must have order. The doors to the chamber opened. Every voice fell silent as Ambassador Vela Mason walked in. She wore a simple black uniform with Earth's flag on her shoulder. 2 security officers followed her, their hands resting on holstered weapons. "You have no right to be here," said Counselor Dren. "Earth has no standing in this chamber after your acts of aggression." Vela smiled. "Yet here I am." She walked to the center of the room. No one moved to stop her. "The people of Earth sent me with terms," Vela said. "Simple ones." She held up one finger. "First, a full investigation into the destruction of our ship, the Olive Branch." A second finger joined the first. "Second, those responsible will face justice." A third finger. "Third, Earth's sovereign right to explore and settle unclaimed star systems will be recognized." Vex leaned forward. "You are in no position to make demands. The Council does not recognize Earth as a sovereign entity. You are a protectorate, nothing more." Vela nodded as if expecting this answer. "Then we have nothing more to discuss." She turned to leave but stopped at the door. "Oh, one last thing. Since you do not recognize our sovereignty, we no longer recognize your authority. Earth will take what we need. We will settle where we choose, and we will defend what is ours." After she left, the chamber erupted again. The Vrax representative clicked his mandibles nervously. "We must negotiate. Their technology is more advanced than they revealed." "Nonsense," said Counselor Dren. "They are bluffing. One primitive world cannot stand against 50 united species." In a quiet corner, the representative from the ancient Zith race shook his head. "You fools. Did none of you study their history? Humans have fought more wars against themselves than most species have fought in total. When united, they are terrifying." Meanwhile, Vela returned to her ship. "The Council rejected our terms," she told Captain John Harris. John nodded. "As expected. Shall I inform Earth Command?" "Yes. Tell them to proceed with Operation Stardust. The Council has made their choice. Now they will learn what it means when humans stop playing by the rules." Across Earth, shipyards that had been hidden beneath oceans and inside mountains revealed themselves. Hundreds of ships, not the few dozen the Council knew about, prepared for launch. The stars were waiting, and humanity was coming for them. Captain Ryan Miller stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel, Pathfinder, as it dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Before them lay an uninhabited star system, rich with resources. Council records, which Earth had downloaded before leaving their space, showed this system was marked as low value and scheduled for development in 300 years. "Perfect," Ryan said. "Begin scanning for settlement locations and mineral deposits." His second-in-command, Linda Barnes, looked up from her console. "Captain, I'm detecting Council monitoring buoys. They'll know we're here." Ryan smiled. "Good." Within 6 hours, Earth landing craft touched down on the third planet. Prefabricated colony buildings were assembled with remarkable speed. Mining equipment extracted valuable metals from nearby mountains. This scene repeated across 20 different star systems over the next 6 months. Human ships appeared without warning, established colonies, and began operations before Council forces could respond. When Council enforcement vessels finally arrived at the first human colony, they found it protected by defense platforms that hadn't been there a week earlier. "Humans, you are in violation of Council territory," the Vrax commander transmitted. "Surrender or be destroyed." The response came from Chief Security Officer Laura Bennett. "This system was unclaimed. We checked. All systems are under Council jurisdiction," the Vrax insisted. "Then you should have put your name on it," Laura replied. "We're staying." The Council ships formed a blockade. For 3 days, they prevented supply ships from reaching the colony. Then something strange happened. The human vessels simply disappeared from normal space. When they reappeared, they were past the blockade, safely landed on the planet. "Impossible," shouted the Vrax commander. "They can't have jumped through our blockade. Their ships don't have that technology." But they had. And they did it again and again at every blockade the Council established. On the Council homeworld, the Science Division worked frantically to understand how humans were bypassing standard hyperspace routes. They must have developed alternative FTL technology, said head scientist Corvan, something we never considered possible. High Counselor Vex paced the room. How advanced are they really? What else are they hiding? That's not even the biggest concern, replied Corvan. Our latest intelligence shows they're only using primitive weapons and defensive systems. They could deploy much more advanced technology if provoked. Why don't they? Asked Vex. Unknown. Perhaps they're showing restraint. Perhaps they're waiting for something. Either way, it's troubling. Meanwhile, human colonies flourished across unclaimed space, establishing a network that deliberately avoided direct conflict with Council worlds while securing vital resources. Earth wasn't fighting the Council. They were simply ignoring it, which was somehow worse. Jane Foster sat in a private meeting room on the newly established human outpost known as Hope Station. Across from her were 3 aliens, a tall blue-skinned Alari, a 4-armed Krell, and a small furry Nexian. They represented the Meridian Collective, a group of species considered primitive by Council standards. We have watched how you humans handle the Council, said the Alari named Torlak. For centuries, they have kept our people from advancing. They limit our technology. They restrict our trade. They tell us which planets we may settle. Jane nodded. We learned their true nature the hard way. They fear you, said the Krell named Drax. And now they fear that others will follow your example. Is that why you contacted us? Jane asked. Yes, said the small Nexian, Miri. We propose an alliance. There are 12 species in the Meridian Collective. All of us kept under Council control through protection treaties that only protect their interests. Jane studied the star chart they provided. The Meridian species controlled planets rich with resources the Council had been exploiting. What exactly are you proposing? Jane asked. We provide you with resources and territorial access, said Torlak. You provide us with technology and protection from Council retaliation. Jane smiled. I think we can work something out. 2 weeks later, Human Ambassador Peter Garcia signed the Meridian Alliance Treaty. Earth ships began visiting Meridian worlds, bringing technology the Council had forbidden them for generations. On the Council homeworld, emergency meetings were called. This is unacceptable, shouted Councillor Dren. First the humans defy us. Now they turn our protectorate species against us. High Counselor Vex stared at the latest reports. The Meridian Alliance now controls nearly 20% of the resources we need for our central economies. We should crush this rebellion immediately, said the Vrax representative. With what forces? Asked the ancient Sith. Our military was designed to intimidate, not to fight a real war. The humans have shown they can disable our ships without destroying them. Imagine what would happen if they decided to destroy them instead. In human space, Admiral Lisa Ward reviewed the expansion reports with satisfaction. The Phoenix Protocol was working better than expected. Humanity was not just surviving, it was thriving. The Council has called an emergency session, reported her aide. Let them talk, Lisa said. Meanwhile, send this directive to all human and Meridian worlds. Accelerate production of defensive systems. The Council will not accept this new reality without a fight. She was right. That same day, Council forces attacked a joint human Meridian mining colony in what would become their most serious mistake yet. News of the Council attack on the joint human Meridian mining colony spread quickly. 17 miners died before the attackers were driven off. Among the dead were 10 humans and 7 aliens from 3 different Meridian species. Admiral Lisa Ward called an emergency meeting of Earth's military leaders. The Council has crossed a line, she said. The time for restraint is over. Activate Phase 3 of the Phoenix Protocol. Deep in space, hidden among asteroid fields and inside gas giants across Council territory, stealth ships receive their activation codes. These vessels had been secretly placed over the past 6 months, waiting for this moment. Commander Greg Sanders led the operation from his ship, Shadow. His fleet was small, just 20 ships, but they carried special equipment designed for this mission. All vessels, Greg transmitted, begin deployment of blackout devices. Priority targets first. The human ships moved silently through Council space, dropping small, undetectable devices near FTL communication relays. These relays formed the backbone of the Council's faster-than-light communication network. Without them, messages between worlds would take weeks instead of minutes. Device 1 active, reported Lieutenant Sharon Bell from her station on the Shadow. FTL relay in the Zeta sector is offline. One by one, the communication relays went dark. Council worlds found themselves suddenly cut off from each other. Panic spread as ships vanished from tracking systems and emergency messages went unanswered. Meanwhile, human and Meridian communication systems continued to function perfectly. Their alternative FTL technology operated on principles the Council had never discovered. On the Council homeworld, High Counselor Vex watched in horror as his galactic empire fell silent. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Our communication network is unhackable." "They didn't hack it," replied the Zith representative. "They shut it down. There's a difference." A human transmission cut through the chaos, broadcasting on all remaining frequencies. Admiral Lisa Ward appeared on screens across Council space. "People of the Galactic Council," she said, "you attacked our diplomats. You tried to keep us from the stars. Now you have killed our citizens and our allies. This ends today." Her expression was calm but determined. "You have two choices. Reform the Council to include all sentient species as equals, or watch as your carefully built empire falls apart piece by piece." She let the message sink in before continuing. "We control your communications now. We can disable your ships whenever we choose. We have technology you cannot match. But we don't want to rule you. We just refuse to be ruled." Lisa leaned forward. "You have 48 hours to respond. Choose wisely." Across Council space, member worlds faced a terrible choice: stand with the Council or negotiate separate peace with the human-led alliance. Many didn't wait even 1 hour before reaching out to human representatives. The Great Galactic Council, ruler of the stars for 12,000 years, was beginning to crumble. 5 years passed since the day humanity issued its ultimatum to the Galactic Council. The old order had collapsed within weeks, not through violence but through choice. One by one, Council worlds had broken away to sign separate treaties with the Human Meridian Alliance. Today, representatives from over 70 species gathered on Earth for the signing of the new Galactic Concordat. The location was symbolic, the first time in known history that such a major interstellar agreement would be signed on a former primitive world. Security Chief Laura Bennett surveyed the grand hall where the ceremony would take place. Humans mingled with aliens of all shapes and sizes, talking as equals. Armed guards stood at strategic points, a reminder that trust was still being built. All security checks complete, Laura reported to Admiral Lisa Ward, now serving as Earth's chief representative. Lisa nodded. "Never thought I'd see this day." "What changed their minds, do you think?" Laura asked. "Reality," Lisa said simply. "The old council ruled through fear and control of technology. Once we showed other species there was another way, the system couldn't sustain itself." The hall quieted as the ceremony began. One by one, representatives approached the central table to sign the Concordat. Its principles were straightforward: mutual respect, technological cooperation, and non-interference in internal affairs. When the last signature was recorded, Lisa stepped to the podium. "Today marks not a victory for humanity, but a new beginning for all our species," she said. "The stars belong to no single race. Together, we will explore them as partners, not masters and servants." After the ceremony, Lisa visited a special memorial garden outside the hall. Here stood monuments to those who had died when the olive branch was destroyed. including her brother Sam. The garden had been expanded to include the miners killed in the council attack that had triggered the final confrontation. As Lisa stood in silent remembrance, she noticed a Vrax approaching. She recognized him as Skatera, the same diplomat who had dismissed human evidence years ago. He performed the traditional Vrax submission gesture, lowering his head and spreading his mandibles. Lisa shook her head. "We don't want that from you." The Vrax looked confused. "But our customs. We didn't fight for dominance," Lisa explained. "We fought against subjugation. There's a difference." She extended her hand in the human gesture of greeting. "This is how we do things. As equals." Hesitantly, the Vrax reached out and grasped her hand. "Perhaps," he said, "this is why your species succeeded where others failed. You do not seek to rule, merely to exist freely." Lisa looked at the memorial, then at the diverse gathering beyond. "That's all we ever wanted," she replied. "A chance to find our own path among the stars. Now all of us can do the same." Above them, ships from dozens of worlds orbited Earth peacefully, a sight unimaginable just 5 years earlier when humanity had forsaken diplomacy and changed the galaxy forever.